And then finally on leadership. We've lost many good people this year, and I'm sure everyone in this room has lost people. We've all been to an inordinate amount of funerals, almost to a shocking degree. I was discussing this with an older friend of mine who is also a mentor the other day, and how many people we've lost: friends, parents, husbands, fathers, mothers, and children, and so many children of fentanyl. And of course, one of my fellow colleagues, Grace Jones, to domestic violence. And that brings me also to my friend Jill Glover. I appreciate the guys on the resolutions earlier who sent me something while I was on the road, had terrible internet, and tried to get my 2 cents in that I wanted to add to that resolution. But by that time, it was very long, and I thought this day tends to drag on, but I'm going to use my 10 minutes to talk about her as well. I've shared this with a couple of people yesterday because it still weighs heavy on my mind. So Jill and I used to text a lot, especially during ledge session when we were cross paths, either on election integrity issues or the gender modification issue. She texted me September 2nd out of the blue and say, "Hey, you have a minute? I need to ask you a question." Thought it was about something else. And I said, "Sure, give me a few minutes. Let me walk out of the room." What she went on to describe was her illness. I knew that she'd been having issues, but none of us knew to the extent to which she was having issues. And she said, "I'm calling you because not only are you my friend, you're a doctor. And I want to run some things by you." I'm not going to go into the extensive things that we talked about, but needless to say, having done the exact kind of surgery that she would have required for years, there is nothing like listening to someone that you respect and trust tell you their exact symptoms and knowing how bad this really is. We talked about that this was a serious issue, that she needed to get to a doctor very quickly. I would help make recommendations or introductions if she needed that, and continue to follow up with her because this was the weekend. And you can imagine, if you think that you may have cancer, that this is a raging horror that you have to live with over a long period of time until you get in to see your doctor. Text daily. And I remember her at one point asking me, "Am I going to die?" This is before she even got in the doctor, because it was pretty obvious what she had. You're all probably sitting here thinking, "You're the vice chair. Why are you sharing all this?" I'm sharing this because I think it's very important to remind everyone and ourselves that life is precious, and that it is our humanity to each other that binds us together as not only Republicans and conservatives, but as a party and as Texans. And that is what is going to open the door to bringing people and more people into this party, is our humanity and how we live and lead by example. So again, you've heard me give the mom talk before. I'm going to give it one more time. Go forth, act decent, call your family, and do the right thing. Many of you have heard me say in speeches, do the right thing, not what's convenient. I say this because Texas must lead in many ways. Texas and Texans must set the example. As you all know, because of our terrible border situation and all these people pouring in, not only is Texas watching us, I would dare say the entire world is watching to see what Texas is going to do. And it is very important what we say, how we say it, and how we conduct ourselves. So it is time to live up to the honor and duty of being called a Texan. And that includes our words and our deeds. So thank you all, especially as colleagues, for the work that I know you do in your areas. I know this is our last SREC meeting before the convention, but I wanted to have a moment with everyone gathered to thank you. I know you're doing work for this state. And I will say, together, united in purpose, does not mean united in thought, but united in purpose, we will protect Texas in our homes. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, the report of the state chair. Can you bring up the slides? No, county chair appointments up. Oh, county chair appointments. For one brief moment, like 2 days after the last meeting, we had every single county chair spot filled in the state of Texas. And do we still? Probably not. Still we do. Amazing. That happened like 2 other times in the last 10 years. On election integrity, we've successfully, and this has been in the works since last year, negotiated an agreement with the RNC for them specialists to work within Texas, like we had last cycle. This discussion has been ongoing, and it's now been confirmed. While the individuals awaiting confirmation, I can assure you they're going to have prior experience in election integrity, having previously worked alongside President Trump and his team. In addition, their addition to our team will significantly bolster our efforts in upholding election integrity in Texas, and is part of the beneficial and amicable relationship we've continued to have with the RNC. Specifically, Matt Bresso has been great. Drew, I was nervous when he left, and Matt's filled in perfectly. It's really great to have someone who shares our purpose appointed to oversee our section of the country. We've established and will publish a dedicated election integrity hotline number, as well as an email address that'll be monitored for issues dealing with this topic throughout the 2024 election cycle. These will also be posted on the new Victory website, spearheaded by our Victory Chair, Alex Mueller. We are also gearing up for the primary election early voting and election night war room in Austin, where we'll be taking calls, answering questions, working closely with county chairs to support them in their important role during the election. Prior to early voting, we'll be rolling out trainings on poll watchers, election judges, clerks, and more. We'll kick off those trainings with an overview of election integrity and an inside look at what the other side is planning. We've gotten Chad Ennis, who's currently a VP at Honest Elections Project and a former director of the Forensic Audit Division at the Texas Secretary of State, to help us with that. This is a continuation of our ongoing election integrity support with the monthly webinars for county chairs covering their role in election integrity that began back in the summer, ensuring they met deadlines for making the election judge and alternate election judge appointments our first line of defense in election integrity. Next, I want to go to our digital vendor change. When you looked at Fred's report in the revenue section, there was some red where we were off budget, and then the green in the large donor section where we were above budget. Well, the red sections were email, direct mail, and text messaging. We weren't doing under our previous vendor. Early this year, we changed digital vendors to the same team as Ronnie Jackson's been using to be one of the top fundraisers in the country. They previously worked with President Trump also. They have a really great track record, and we were hoping they would change our prospects. Now, thanks to our messaging and prospecting work so far, we've already in the first month raised over $7,000 since January 5th in just email text messaging, which is more than double our previous vendor. Now, keep in mind, that's also our prospecting emails, which we were focusing on this month. They do for free. In exchange, they keep 90% of the first prospect, then hand us over those prospects. Okay, the first text message prospecting text message, keep in mind, we send out an email. Some of our emails get like $1,500 per email. We sent out one text message that got over $15,000, $23,000 in. So again, prospecting, we keep 10%, but those are new donors to our list, and we're hoping that builds like a snowball, so doubling what we had is getting better and better. Convention. Fundraising is going well for convention. Thank you to Galen. Remember last time, it's like those stressful weeks leading up to all your payments. You got to get on the phone and everything. And this has been so much more relaxing. We've great excitement behind convention. Everybody's pretty excited. We've raised $446,000 so far, with $331,000 already in the bank. Donors we've talked to are very excited, and Galen's done a great job. Galen's also going to talk about a new tool we have for formatting resolutions. It's currently on the website, and Galen will talk about that more in the report. SREC convention training. RPT staff is going to conduct a webinar on SREC members' official duties for convention. They'll cover RPT rules and deadlines, temporary committees, temporary caucus chairs, and what to expect as an SREC member at convention. Lastly, I want to just talk about where we are as a party. We're in a precarious spot as a nation, and often at a loss to figure out what we do about it. But that's why we're here, to do something about it. What I think we need to do about it is use every tool at our disposal to fight the left and to preserve American values. That's our goal. Our goal is to make a difference in people's lives. Now, that talks about what our role is as a political party. And I think that's what we've changed. We've changed the game, not only in Texas, but across the country. I just got a text from a friend of mine in Florida who just adopted legislative priorities for the first time and is working with his chair to do so on a state level in Florida. And they said the Republican Party of Texas was their inspiration. So what's the role of a political party? If you're in virtually every other state, if you're if you're running a political party elsewhere, I think the common view was accepting the argument that as a political party, our only job is to elect Republicans and then stop. We're effectively supposed to be, have no other purpose to raise money and then get involved in elections. Well, that's really important, very important. But it's not the only thing we need to do to accomplish our purpose of changing policy. I mean, think about it, right? You have states, well, in Texas, I've always heard the argument, if all we need to do is increase our majorities, and then we can implement all the policy you need. But we have case studies in Wyoming, in West Virginia. They're not doing that. Look at this past week. What was in the news? What was the most important thing in the news that you were frustrated about in the last week? Border bill, exactly. And who on the Republican side proposed that border bill? James Lankford, who comes from a state that has not voted for a Democrat in a presidential election in any of its 70 plus counties. Not a single county in the state has voted for a Democrat since last century. And yet that was the product. So I think the biggest con that has been propagated against grassroots Republicans is that you have no other job other than to be a cheerleading society for anyone with an R next to their name. And you don't deserve a seat at the table. Lobbyists deserve a seat at the table, and no one complains who's in government. Donors have a seat at the table. Corporations have a seat at the table. But you're supposed to sit back and be a cheerleading society? You run a party that every single elected official depends upon in order to get elected, because none of them are getting elected unless they associate with the Republican Party. That's why we don't have any independents in state government or the state legislature. So you deserve to define what that R means. And I think that if you hold that view, the Texas GOP has been the most successful political party in the country. Because number one, we've been winning elections, won every statewide office in the last 30 years. And not only that, but in the last 2 years in all your terms, well, most of your terms, we've increased our margins in the 2022 election for the first time since 2014. We won every statewide office by double digits, and we outperformed the polling, where in other states, Republicans were underperforming the polling. And lastly, you are exerting influence to change our state. You are. There's a reason why you are taking flack. Sometimes change is very hard for people, and they resist it. And you're seeing that. But what are we seeing happen with all of that friction? You are seeing office holders, Republican Party office holders and grassroots, uniting behind a common cause like never before. You're seeing the governor travel the state, and he is doing a tremendous job this year on policy, on the border, traveling the state, getting involved in primaries, and he deserves our support, and I support him for it. We are seeing issues in the state house as the state party is involved, running informational ads, talking about about Democrat chairs in individuals' districts. We're talking about the Paxton impeachment in people's districts. We're talking about issues and informing our voters, right? And we're going to deal with a censure today. Someone whose district looks a lot different now because of our involvement. And let me tell you, when this election happens in March, we have a chance to change the state of Texas. Because if we come out of that primary with results like a lot of people think we're going to come out of that primary with, the whole political game changes and the incentives change. And whoever the next person is that leads us in the House or is a state legislator, they're going to know we can't empower Democrats. No more. And I'm putting too much, I can't say it enough. I want to thank Greg Abbott, our governor, for messaging the Democrat chair issue in virtually every stop he's gone to. And I am thankful to our governor for doing that. Because as he says, when you empower Democrats, you by definition disempower Republicans. And that's what we've been saying. So what I'd encourage you to do is pat yourself on the back, keep your eye on the ball. Sometimes change is uncomfortable, but the change you're making for the party is for the better of our society and our state. Support the candidates you support in primaries, our conservative candidates that will support our values. Attend your convention, fundraise for the party, encourage people to join the Grassroots Club. And I just want to say thank you for all you've done and for all you're going to do. We're going to approve the county chairs first. In accordance with section 171.025 of the election code, I've appointed Richard Diaz as county chair of Zavala County. Is there any objection to confirming the appointment of the Zavala County chair? Hearing none, he is confirmed. The officials committee report will be very short. It is, we approved booth resolution.